Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. I am back with part 5 of What If Deku had a Foresight Quirk. And as always, I hope y'all have been enjoying this series. I've been enjoying making it. It's been a pretty good one, I feel like. But I got some planned. I have another Deku series ready to go, or at least ready to start. Shout out to XSplick. XSplick and Crown Fiend have been helping me with thumbnails, especially with other stuff I've been preoccupied with. So they've been helping me out with that. And yeah, with that said though, I'm going to continue this series until I finish it. Then y'all will see a compilation or the full movie of it, quote unquote. And yeah, it'll be a wrap for this series. But yeah, I don't need to say much more. That's all I gotta say. And let's get right into part 5 of What If Deku had a Foresight Quirk. And here we are. Here we are. Izuku Midoriya is just taken out of this small little marble, strapped to his seat and unable to move. Izuku ponders what's going on, and he begins to look around to see that there is a ton of villains around him. Izuku slightly mocks all of them, saying that they really wasted his time and their own time, so they should just hurry up with whatever they have planned. They kind of laugh at Izuku, saying that they have all the leverage, and what they're going to do is turn him into a weapon. But more importantly, they'll turn him into a perfect weapon. Just like Kurogiri, just like the Nomus, he'll be the very own Nomu that they've been looking for. One that can see into the future, one that could read everything. Izuku begins to laugh once again. You all are real idiots. It's ironic, frankly. You know, I can't necessarily see into the future, right? It's not that simple. No? Based on how dumb your faces look right now, I assume that you had no idea. But still, how could I blame you? Izuku kinda continues to mock them, but then gets burned by Dabi's flames. He shuts up for a second and just stares at them as he begins to heal the wound that was just given to him. Izuku shakes his head and says that they gave him way too much time. He shows his hands, and the anklet and also the wrist restraints are no longer on him. He stands up as they try to fight him, but he quickly is able to dodge and get out of the way as he kicks through the door that's right in front of him. As he sprints through that door, he sprints through an alleyway, closely pursued by many others. A portal opens up right in front of him, but he was able to predict this relatively easily as he dodges it, going to the side of the portal and slightly climbing a building to get away. As Izuku is basically getting away, he's in hot pursuit, or the villains are in hot pursuit of him. But as Izuku turns the corner, there are a ton of heroes waiting. Gran Torino comes soaring in, kicking a ton of the villains as All Might himself charges in as well, many others to follow. Izuku is shocked to see this and slightly smirks, saying that they really didn't stand a chance in the first place. But he would bite those words, or he would eat those words very soon, because a portal would open up underneath him and send him off. He would be so confused. Where is he? Why did they send him here? As he sees a portal open up and as the League of Villains arrive as well, but they seem just as confused. Izuku can feel this presence directly behind him. As he turns, there it is. All for One. He's shocked to see this, but All for One tells him that he's the key to unlocking everything for them. All for One reaches out and grabs Izuku by the arm and grabs him then by the neck, telling him that this will be the last time he'll see true freedom, that unfortunately he'll be needed for something far, far greater that's to come. Izuku struggles and tries to get out, and he can see his life flashing before his eyes. He needs to unhinge this hand from his neck as soon as possible. He needs to. He's passing out. all of it, the oxygen in his lungs are depleting, and then eventually his eyes would dim, passing out. But then out of nowhere, a punch would come straight to the face of All For One, sending him flying. Izuku would fly off to the ground as he's caught by somebody. He reawakens and he breathes in a deep sigh of relief, and he stands his ground, standing still. He looks behind him to see that it was Gran Torino who caught him, someone that he personally has not trained with, but he's heard good things about. Gran Torino pulls something out of his pocket and throws it up. As he does, it lands straight on Izuku's shoulders, and on top of that, he throws a tiny pen, it seems, as Izuku grabs it and presses the button on the pen to extract the place where you write on it, but it actually turns into his bow staff. Izuku smirks a little bit and looks at Gran Torino as he takes off to help all the other heroes in whatever fight they need to fight. All the Nomus and so on and so forth. Izuku slowly walks toward the battlefield as the League of Villains are all there fighting. And Izuku is pissed. He is livid. All the League of Villains are standing right there, and they believe that this is the perfect time to get Izuku and take him away. But Izuku's standing there, his eyes even darker of a purple. His body language looks petrifying. He looks petrifying. He walks forward toward them, and Shigaraki and many others that are standing in front of them, Toga, Dabi, and all the others, they don't stand a chance. Every move they take, every single little flinch, Izuku sees it all, slamming his bow staff so hard into the neck of Shigaraki that it sends him flying, knocking him out cold. Dabi shoots flames straight at him, but Izuku spins his bow staff so fast that he's able to deflect the flames. A knife comes from Toga trying to stab Izuku in the side, but he grabs the knife and redirects it back at her, forcing her to dodge as he kicks her directly in the face, sending her toward a building. Izuku tells them that this fight is over, that it's all over. As he says this, he screams, and all he can hear in his mind, and out of reflex alone to the voice that he hears in his head, he says these words: "Slow down." As he says this, everything around him feels slow, motionless. He walks forward as if he's walking forward normally, and in a matter of a split second, he destroys multiple limbs of the people in front of him, and the League of Villains collapse. All of them on the ground as he sticks his bow staff in the ground, and he begins to basically pant out of exhaustion. A portal opens up, sucking all the League of Villains away as Izuku throws his bow staff, trying to stop one of them, to at least capture one of them, but he can't. He unfortunately misses, and he's unable to capture them. Izuku is pissed, frustrated, but at the same time, he doesn't know what else to say. But luckily, they're able to have some of these villains captured. Not all of them, of course, but some that are pretty crucial. One is Kurogiri, of course, and everyone else that got captured originally. But Izuku would then grab the bow staff that's on the ground, shrink it back to its pen size, and he looks up, and when he does, he sees All Might and All For One clashing, still going head to head. All For One looks to end All Might here and now. Izuku knows that he has nowhere near the strength, nowhere near the power to keep up at this moment. But still, it doesn't matter. Izuku limps his way off, and he's helped by Gran Torino and many others to get out of there, and luckily, he does just that. They bring him to a hospital where he's safe and sound. Gran Torino even commends him, saying that he's hell of a fighter, especially someone that has that many techniques and that can master so many weapons and weaponry so quickly. It feels that there's an unfair advantage in a way. Izuku shakes his head and asks how All Might is. And of course, the same result happens. Yes, All For One is defeated. Yes, everything seems to have went okay, but the retirement of All Might is still fulfilled. And unfortunately, the symbol of peace, will feel extremely weakened in that regard. Nonetheless, though, it's okay. Izuku sees that there is more to All Might than meets the eye. He's truly a teacher and truly someone that can work with them and get them stronger. And that's all Izuku can think about. He was able to take down the basically a syndicate of the League of Villains, able to take them down alone. Of course, he was enraged, and it also took basically awakening a brand new ability for him to even take them down, but he can feel it. He can feel that this ability is something that is going to be around for a while, something that he needs to master, and that is to slow down time itself. It's crazy. His Foresight quirk is evolving at rapid speeds. It's no longer something as simple as Foresight. Yes, he can see people, what they're going to do, their emotions that always lead to a certain outcome, but now his quirk is far more. His quirk is evolved far greater than he can possibly imagine. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Izuku continues his training, and they do a bit of their little hero special move training, of course. But the main thing that would eventually come would be the provisional hero licensing exam. And yes, this exam is relatively simple and relatively easy. Frankly, especially for someone like Izuku. When they all arrive, there's really nobody that's truly their friend. Izuku makes this clear to the entirety of Class 1A. But on top of that, Izuku knows that once they get in there, whatever they gotta do, it's going to be easy. Simple. That everyone's going to come after them, but Izuku and his whole class have trained for this specifically. So when the first event for the provisional hero licensing exam begins, and you have to tag people with these red dodgeballs of some sorts, Izuku knows that it'll be simple and quick for at least him. Before anybody could really even attack them, Izuku immediately finds a couple people, eliminating them. But as he looks over the horizon, he sees that a ton of people are coming after Class 1A. He's about to tag the person that he's actually about to finish off, but he decides not to. He says that he'll be back later, that if he's here or if they're not here, so be it. He doesn't care anyways. Izuku would head over to exactly where his class is, and he'd put his whole class in position to win with ease. He would slow down time after working on it for the last couple days, and he'd tag out people, or at least get 2 tags on them, where the third tag, it would be easy, basically easy as heck to get them out. They would have such an advantage that Izuku was setting them up for, that it would be very simple to get anybody else out that needed to get out. Izuku would tag his last person, head off the stage, and would allow his class and trust his class to finish off what they needed to finish off. After waiting in the waiting room, he would see his whole class eventually arrive, and he knew that this is exactly what would occur. For the next part, they have a bit of a rescue type of exam. Of course, they haven't worked on rescue very much, but Izuku knows that they should have a good bit of success nonetheless. So during this time, and during this, working at this rescue training, he goes around and helps people out find the best pathways to save people. And this overall helps how fast they begin rescuing and saving as many people as possible. And it also gives Izuku a lot of, points. It gives him a ton of points for passing this so-called exam. And after they're done for about 10 minutes of just rescuing people, the alarms begin to sound. It seems as if there's a villain attack. Well, yeah. It's Gang Orca and a bunch of fake villains that are going to basically be their shoo-in for a villain raid. So the villains come storming in, and some of the students feel that they can do it all on their own, and when they try, let's just say it goes really downhill. Izuku kind of knew that would happen. Just out of normal occurrences, many of the heroes, or the student heroes at this moment, are pretty cocky and over their heads. And that's a lot coming from Izuku himself, because he is cocky and, sometimes over his head. Not all the time, though. Of course, though, Izuku helps out where he can, and when Gang Orca finally approaches, Izuku would take that stand and would go one-on-one with Gang Orca, while Inasa and Todoroki are trying to figure out what they're going to do with themselves. They're having their little disputes, Todoroki and Inasa, and Izuku tells them to stop being idiots as he looks at Todoroki, and he tells him that they've been working on stuff like this all the time, working together. As disgusting as it sounds coming from his own mouth, it's true. Izuku tells Todoroki to stop being an idiot and stop doing stupid stuff like this, and that they'll actually win, especially against a pro hero like Gang Orca. Izuku would stand his ground, and as he does, well, the fire and wind would then surround Gang Orca entirely. Izuku would tell them to basically continue this, and as he watches from inside with with good eyesight, Izuku looks as Gang Orca is pulling out water that's going to rehydrate him and get him out of there. He predicts where that water is going to be pulled out from as he throws his spear through it, or his bow staff. And as he throws the bow staff through it, it more or less penetrates through the bottle and completely destroys or basically leaks out all the water that Gang Orca was going to use, forcing Gang Orca to brute force his way out of the fire wind vortex. And when he tries, Gang Orca is completely dried out and he collapses to the ground, completely out cold. Izuku smirks as the plan worked exactly how he thought it would. The fire vortex would have got it done, but every pro hero has a backup plan. But if he doesn't have a backup plan to his backup plan, well, it's not going to go too well, because Izuku can see 3 to 5 to 7, whatever, how many steps you can think of ahead of anybody he's in front of. And that works perfectly in this scenario. This would eventually lead to the sirens singing once again, and it would be called that it's over. The exam is now officially came to its conclusion, and everybody's scores will be evaluated and put up on a big screen soon to come. After a while of waiting, the screen would show up, and the screens would show that only 2 people actually didn't pass, that being Inasa and Todoroki, Bakugo actually passing in this regard. And the main reason why he passed was actually just some relation, and more relation, to All Might and also Izuku himself. Izuku is a cocky guy, of course, but they had a more of a respectful relationship in a way. And in terms of All Might would make it clear that all these things get evaluated, and he needs to tone down his temper, and he did it just enough, basically to help out, that it didn't matter that he was a little bit rowdy. So luckily, Bakugo this time around actually is good. He actually gets his provisional hero license. With that all said and done, though, the next day at school, they would learn about the reason why they need these provisional hero licenses. They actually are trying to get into a work study. And a work study is something that the big 3 are going to talk about. The big 3 begin to speak about these so-called work studies, but it eventually leads to Mirio saying that he's going to fight everybody. And when he does, he absolutely dominates. Yeah, but dominates everyone except for Izuku and Bakugo. Their teamwork is something that is pretty damn good, something that was even able to keep up with All Might. On top of that, Izuku and Bakugo have become so much stronger to this point that Mirio is not unpredictable. Izuku could predict exactly what Mirio is going to do and try to find openings in his quirk. Don't get me wrong, Mirio's quirk is extremely powerful, but Izuku being that far ahead of everyone and looking 7 to 8 steps ahead of Mirio, he's easily able to keep up with Mirio, even if it's not through raw speed, it's just through raw reaction. In which this does impress Mirio really a lot, and everyone is shocked to see this, especially after how everyone got destroyed by him. He doesn't beat Mirio by any means, but he's able to keep up, and it kind of goes into a stalemate. But even Aizawa knows that if Izuku really wanted this fight to be over, it would have been over already. Mirio has no clue, and even Aizawa hints at that later on, and Mirio is shocked to hear it. What kind of power does this kid have? He knew that he had some power, or had some real raw strength in terms of his quirk and various other things, but how technically flawless is this kid? Well, that's a question that maybe he'll be able to see eventually, especially because All Might decides to bury the hatchet a little bit and speak with Sir Night-Eye. But that's more speaking with Sir Night-Eye on the regard for Bakugo and Izuku. He wants both of them to go to Sir Night-Eye's agency because he feels that there is a positive outcome to come. That if both of them work together, and if they continue to work together, Bakugo will basically transcend far faster than anybody can possibly believe. And on top of that, Izuku brings the best, in a way, out of Bakugo, brings the most power out of Bakugo. And maybe Bakugo can truly basically figure out One for All to its fullest capacities, something that All Might was never able to do. So their next challenge is with Sir Night-Eye, Sir Night-Eye's agency, and soon they'll figure out that their next challenge is with Overhaul and the Shia Hazaikai. But that is for another part, and that is for the next part of What If Deku Had a Foresight Quirk. And if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, a sub, and a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.